yeah, 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 yeah.
Cap, you remember
Is this the Harlem Shake?
Yeah, the dance craze. Remember that, Cap?
Well, Brian and I were around when this thing became super popular.
Iconic heat moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like one of their biggest bonding moments.
I mean, 2 weeks ago I was here spending time with Udonis Haslem, and we were talking about it.
About the Harlem Shake?
The day they filmed it. You remember that? It's probably got like 50 million views on YouTube.
Yeah, it was, at the time, was one of the most watched things on YouTube.
Definitely.
Yes, I remember the background of it. It was the day they were doing something at Pat Riley's house that day, and then they went and filmed it afterwards, basically.
In the locker room.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, George, does Wendy got a set of cans we could throw over to him? Because
he's got an IFB on.
Okay, I couldn't see that.
No, Cap,
Wendy,
I don't want to hear you. That was the deal. The deal was I would come in here if I didn't have to hear you.
I feel so horrible. You have no idea that you're in studio. I got home early this morning, so I'm working from home today.
So did
I'll be
I,
in studio.
and I'm here.
That is true.
I will
be
be
in
studio.
studio.
Like I wasn't a pro. Like I would sit down here without anything in my ear.
Well, I can't see your right ear good looking. I can't see it. You know what I mean?
That's a nice jacket, by the way.
A very nice jacket. And it was a nice tie that you were wearing on SportsCenter a few minutes ago. I wish you would have kept it on. You look so sharp.
Well, L.A., you go without the tie when you're walking in the streets. That's what I do.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Understood.
So, real quick, let's talk about this game on Saturday. Now, I mean, the pros to it, and you guys broke it down really well, I thought, on NBA Today. They did the thing. This is the thing I have been harping on since this union of Luka and LeBron came. And I think it's something we can relate to. We were just talking about his days in Miami. I said, for this to work, LeBron needs to do what Wade did for him.
Yep.
Where basically he has to take that 1B role, play off the ball, be the cutter, be the guy, to get them off the ball in transition, right? All those things, work off the ball as Luka is the ball-dominant guy. And he's clearly done that already. Like, he's been imploring him to do it from the beginning, right? Don't fit in, fit out, all that stuff.
That's right.
But now we've seen what it can look like with Luka now kind of getting his wind and conditioning.
I mean, that's what JJ basically asked Luka to do starting in that game. I actually thought it would start tomorrow. When I was looking at it, and I saw Luka play last Wednesday against Charlotte. He clearly didn't have his legs, and I was thinking, well, maybe they're not putting the ball in his hands because they don't think he can. They don't think he can handle that just yet.
Right.
And
he was out 6+ weeks, 7 weeks nearly,
and he just didn't look good.
Right.
What do you want me to say? He didn't look good.
Right.
But then obviously he looked so much more comfortable on Saturday because he played Luka basketball.
Yes.
That's the way they got to play. And I think LeBron might have said this, and if he didn't say it, I think it's been implied. They can't play the other way. Luka's not going to go space in the corner.
No.
Luka's not going to space on the wing. Luka's not going to cut off the ball. Luka's not going to get some sort of back screen, backdoor cut.
No.
Luka has to have the ball.
Right.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
LeBron understands that.
Yeah.
I knew that they would get there. I was never worried about their offense. I knew it would happen. It's good to see it happen relatively quickly. Now let's see if they can keep it up. Because, Austin's first 3 games with Luka, he averaged 15 points.
Right.
I know he got thrown out of the one game early.
Right.
But his last game before Luka, he scored 45. Luka skipped the game in Portland. He had 32. Those 3 games in between, he averaged 15. Now, I'm not saying that Austin needs to average 30, but when the ball's not in Austin's hands, it limits his effectiveness. So there is some rough edges to smooth out, but I never doubted their offense.
Yeah.
To me, their defense
agree.
will be what defines them. And tomorrow night, I could just see them. I could just see them giving Luka the ball every time down and saying, "Take 35 shots."
Right.
I don't care what happens, just take 35 shots. And I was always looking at tomorrow as the breakout.
Yeah.
The breakout happened a game early, which I think is bad news for the Mavericks.
Well, Wendy, do you think that this is about Luka's conditioning, or do you think it's about him getting comfortable? Or
Both.
Okay, maybe there's even a third component, which is JJ and LeBron just convincing him, dude, you got to be you. You got to do your own thing. Stop passing the ball every time you have the ball. Stop deferring to everybody. Stop trying to prove to us what a great teammate you are, that you've joined our team. Do your thing, man.
All 3 of those things, I think so. I mean, if you go back and look at the beginning of the season, Luka missed all of training camp with a calf injury. He started the regular season, his first 4 games, very poor shooting, 30% on threes, just like here. His shot was flat. He scored more points because the way the team was set up.
The ball was in his hands more. Right.
But if you look at the numbers, the percentages, he had a terrible start to the season. They started out 5 and 8, largely because Luka was flat coming off the calf injury. So when he comes off this calf injury where he was out longer, the fact that he's shooting the ball flat, especially going to a new team, is not a surprise. So I was really never concerned about that. I was interested in how fast they would move to let's make Luka the centerpiece of everything. That happened on Saturday. I assume it will happen going forward. I think LeBron's going to be invested in it. Austin doesn't have a choice.
Right.
But they will build in times for Austin to get his time. I'm really not worried about their offense. I think they're on nights when Rui shoots the ball well. Look, he's a variance shooter.
Yeah.
So is Finney-Smith to a certain extent. On nights when those two guys are hitting from the outside, they're going to be awesome on offense. On nights when they're not, maybe they need to rely on Luka a little bit more. They are going to score. I'm not worried about it.
It's a Michelob Ultra Reaction Monday. We'll react to the Lakers' big win over Denver over the weekend. And by the way, thanks to Michelob Ultra, 2.6 carbs, 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Brian Windhorst is in here with us. Make sure you subscribe to his podcast if you don't already, The Hoop Collective. It is excellent listening if you love the sport of basketball. Despite Tim Bontemps, raining on the Lakers parade at every moment, according to our fans.
For about a decade now. So what's the difference?
Yeah. So nonetheless, the thing that I was most worried about, and you've kind of talked about this already too, is the defense. Like, what would the defense look like? And it's been really good since January 15th. It's been the number one defense in the league.
Amazing.
It really, to me, is a testament of JJ and his ability to get those guys to buy into what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so, okay. 2 years ago, go back 2 years. When the Lakers made those trade deadline deals, Vanderbilt, D'Lo, those guys, after those deals, from early February onward, they were the number one defensive team in the league. The fingerprints of that run to the West Finals began in the defense that team played in February and March. Last year, when the Mavericks began their ramp up right about this time, the Mavericks were one of the best defenses in the league. By the way, even Luka, down the stretch of the regular season last year. Yep.
Go ahead. Well, finish up, and I'll tell you, because I was there for the seminal moment when the Mavs defense flipped.
Started playing great defense.
Yeah.
The Mavericks, the indications of the Mavericks playoff run began right about now when they were starting to play defense. I understand that this is an offensive league at this point. I understand you got to shoot to win. But if you're going to do something in the playoffs, you got to defend. And there's outliers. You can point to the Nuggets 2 years ago. They were just sort of an above average defensive team. They were not great.
But most of them are in the top 10.
Right.
Yep.
For the last 6 weeks, the Lakers have played great defense.
Yeah.
I have to look at that and take it seriously.
Yeah. So the Mavericks last year, interestingly enough, I did the game on ESPN Radio where they inserted Daniel Gafford into the starting lineup, Derek Lively to the bench, Derek Jones Jr. also into the starting lineup, and that changed their entire trajectory, basically.
That's right.
So I've seen it basically happen with a Luka team already, and I feel like this team, despite not having a traditional big, is going to be able to do things because of their length, and that's basically what JJ and this coaching staff is banking on.
Yeah, so they are small inside, but they are very big on the perimeter. LeBron, obviously, big. Finney-Smith, big. Rui, big. Luka has good size. Last night Saturday he had some steals.
Yeah,
he can be beaten, but he's okay in the post. So JJ's designed a defense to take advantage of their flexibility and their quickness. Now, one thing I'll say about it is the league is just now seeing how the Lakers are defending. If over the next few weeks teams start, if that was game one of a playoff series against the Nuggets on Saturday and game two was tonight, you would see a completely different game plan for Jokic.
Oh, there's no question. Right. He's not going to only take 7 shots.
Where they would sort of counteract that. Yeah. So I am absolutely impressed with the Lakers defense. I am absolutely impressed with how they've, the Vanderbilt edition and the Finney-Smith edition have given JJ more tools. Let me just see, as the league takes another look at them and starts to game plan for them. But I am paying attention to what's happening, and I am looking at that with new eyes on that defense.
Cappy, you're like our Luka. Like when you came in, I had to realize, you know what, Cappy needs to have the ball in his hands.
I need the ball.
And you need to dribble for at least 5.6 seconds per possession and make sure that you get your space. And I would then be the LeBron and play around you and make it all work.
Well, and I'll tell you something. You know, the other part of it that we have to do in that equation, George, is you got to trust coaches.
Right.
Okay. And I want to read to you guys something that LeBron said after the game against Denver, and you guys can chime in and tell me what you guys think.
Yeah.
Here's LeBron's quote. In order for us to be successful, in order for us to win ultimately long term, we have to trust our game plan. We have to trust and be so dialed in on attention to detail. We have the personnel now that we can really lock in on a game plan and be super strategic about how we want to execute offensively and defensively, and it was great to see tonight. Guys, what I want to put to both of you gentlemen is this. There seems to be, for the first time, at least, in the last 5 years that I can remember, there's a real trust for J.J. Redick that I'm not sure this team ever had for either of the two previous coaches. Brian, what do you think about that?
Well, as I was watching his interaction during the game with J.J., certainly I recognize that's something that was a good sign. J.J. is more these guys' peer than he is sort of the way Darvin was, certainly more than Vogel. But I think it's hard to totally survive long-term that way. You can't be their peer forever. And I know that the post-game, that was really cool what the Lakers Social did, where they had JJ's post-game.
The conquering hero.
It was great. I thought it was great. Like, that was like a thing. I know it's been a thing for a few years now, but the stuff with Dan Campbell, the Lions coach this year, it became like a staple.
Yeah.
And with McVay, the Rams do a great job with that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like it. I'm all for that. But you are not defined as a coach by victory speeches, and
in
by
February
dapping up your players.
Yeah.
You're defined with your strategy. What I will say is the best sign for me, LeBron is speaking highly of the coach's strategy. I think if you look back over the decades, there have been times where LeBron has praised his coach's strategy and times when he has not. And the fact that LeBron is praising his strategy is not surprising, but good. And you can see a buy-in from what they're doing. So, but again, let's see how it, let's say when they're down 2-1 in a playoff series, or they're facing elimination, how that all works.
All right, let's get into some of that on the other side about their strategy yesterday. And I had a question about it long term, right? Unveiling it at the time that they did. Wendy's in the house. Make sure you check out the Hoop Collective podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to get Brian and the crew each and every, multiple times a week, several times a week. And
it's going to be a late one tomorrow night because we got to do a post game.
Oh, after Dallas?
We have to.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and McMahon for sure.
Yeah.
And Bontemps too, I guess.
Yeah, and I've got the get-up shift Wednesday morning. It's going to be a tough turnaround.
That's a 4 a.m., right?
This is what the Lakers have done with this game. They've made it like a playoff game. Like I would compare it to like a game 3.
Yeah. I'm not even going. I want to watch it at home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should.
Yeah.
Wendy, are you going to go to the game, or are you going to?
No, I'll go to see the pregame, and then I'll leave like in the second quarter and go back home. But it's a big one.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys a question about this game tomorrow night. Do you guys anticipate that AD is in the house? That even if he's
he was in San Francisco, so he's traveling with the team.
I guess what I'm getting at is obviously he's dealing with rehab. You can do that all on the road.
Yeah.
But I mean, in this particular game, I didn't know for sure since he's not playing that he would definitely be in the house. You guys fully anticipate
he'll be
that
here.
He will
I wonder
be.
if they play a video for him when he's not
a tribute.
playing.
Yeah, you would think so.
Obviously, he gets a video. There's no question about that.
Well, I mean, they did one for Mark Williams
when he's not playing.
They did not do one for Mark Williams. Stuff.
Okay, well, I thought when Charlotte came to town, they were going to do one for Mark Williams.
Yeah. How about LeBron, like dismissing him in the post game? Like, I don't know, he was never really our teammate or whatever.
I've seen it before.
Yeah,
I've seen it before. I've seen it in many different ways before. I remember when LeBron. I don't know if you remember this, but when LeBron wrote his "Welcome, I'm coming back to Cleveland" letter, and he listed all of his teammates, and he didn't list Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah.
He'd already decided he was getting traded for Kevin Love. Isaiah Thomas, who later was a...
I'll never forget that. So I was still doing the morning show with Keyshawn and LZ back then, and when he walked past Isaiah Thomas for who was it who's the other player? It was not Omri Caspi.
It might as well have been Omri Caspi.
Whatever. It was some random player.
So the backstory on that is, and you can find it on YouTube. LeBron did not like playing with Isaiah Thomas. Now, they mended fences. He came here, whatever. He was mostly angry that they traded for a player who was hurt in the last year of his contract in Cleveland.
Right.
And so he knew, like, this isn't like sources said, it's openly knowledge. He knew that they were trading Isaiah the next day.
Yeah.
And LeBron hits a game winner at the buzzer.
And it was Jetty Osmond who he went and chest bumped with. That's who it was.
And so Isaiah comes up to celebrate, and LeBron
goes right past him.
Stonewalls him.
Yeah.
and chest bumps with another player, and Isaiah bounces off of him.
Right.
Like, it was, it is hilarious.
It's great video.
I mean, I feel bad for Isaiah.
We on the morning show that day, we were talking about it for whatever reason. I don't remember why we were talking about it, but we broke it down like the Zapruder film. And like LZ and Q were like, no, man, he just didn't see. I'm like, no, he absolutely knew he was there.
At the risk of parodying myself, why would he do that?
Yeah.
Because he knew he was literally traded the next day.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you a question about the strategy they employed this Saturday against Jokic. We talked about the 7 shots or whatever. I mean, if you watched NBA today, Cappy, if you haven't had a chance, you should go back and watch it on like the ESPN app or whatever. Because I thought Legler did a really good job specifically of kind of like highlighting where guys were kind of moving. Like Jokic, it wasn't even just when Jokic got the ball. It was before Jokic had the ball. When he was trying to move throughout the offense on different parts of the floor, like there were hands all over him, guys shading him forever, like at every point basically. There was never less, in my opinion, at least in the times I was watching closely, never less than 3 people within a foot of him or 2 feet of him.
There's no way he installed that strategy on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
They had been working on that strategy for a while. No way. Because they had a back-to-back. They did not practice on Friday.
Correct. So my question is, did he give up the secret a little too early, considering there's a chance you could see them in the playoffs? Because to me, I look at a strategy like that and I say that would have been great to go and throw out there game 1 of a series. You steal a game, perhaps even in Denver if you have to face them in Denver.
It's a fair point. And JJ, while I haven't talked to him about it, so I don't know. I'll bet he wrestled with that. Does our team need this now? Is this gamble worth it now?
Because they need belief that they can actually beat those guys.
That's right. And it worked. And, it seems to me, again, this is my perception, JJ's speech after the game, that's not a normal speech.
Right.
There was some sort of strategy being employed in that game. And again, even that speech being released publicly, I'm sure JJ didn't open up the X app and all of a sudden see it.
Yeah,
he knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So I wonder and speculate if that game wasn't designed for extra juice.
Right.
And that they gave Luka Thursday off.
Right.
So Luka had Thursday and Friday off to ramp up a little bit.
Right.
I mean, yeah, if you are saying that he sort of gambled a little bit, fine, but he threw the right number, whatever. He got blackjack, whatever metaphor you want. It worked. So I think it was probably smart.
Let me ask you guys this question, though, on the flip side. You ready?
Yeah.
If you're Denver, and I think Denver had, you guys would know better than me, like a 9-game winning streak prior to that game or something like that, right? And Denver had owned the Lakers. I mean, postseason, regular season, Denver has completely owned them, right? Is it conceivable that the Nuggets were like, okay, we see what they're doing, rather than make adjustments, let's just roll with it. This game is a regular season game. Doesn't really mean that much to us. We've been on a nice roll. Do you guys think there's anything to like Denver thinking like almost the way the Lakers would look at I hate to use this, but like a Charlotte, right? I mean, Denver doesn't look at the Lakers as this great threat per se, or winning this game in the regular season wasn't that critical to them to make adjustments. What do you guys think about that?
I don't think they were ready for what hit them.
No.
Okay, so they just got completely caught off guard.
Yes.
Like, again, if this was a playoff series, what you would hear is Michael Malone and Jamal Murray, and Jokic doesn't really entertain this type of stuff, would come out and say they came out more aggressive. This always happens early in the playoff series. The losing team goes about the other team. They came out and hit us in the mouth. They came out more aggressive. Classic situation. And if Denver had the higher seed, they would come back in game 2, and my guess is they would probably win it because they would push back and they'd throw back some strategy. But you know what? Like, I'm not opposed to JJ practicing what a first game of a playoff would look like. I mean, they haven't done it before, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I just wonder how many more, and he's probably got a number of them, is my guess, but how many more of those he's got in his back pocket that he could use potentially in a 7-game series? Because you need to do it 4 times.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, like, I still can't believe that Denver lost that series last year to Minnesota.
Stunned, especially the way it happened.
My belief is that it's so hard to do that 4 out of 7 against Jokic.
Right.
Because you can do that.
Right. But they did it with 3 bigs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, look, like I absolutely am taking the Lakers more seriously now, not because of Luka as much as because of their defense.
Yeah.
Because I always believe they could score. The thing that Luka can do that I think is interesting, he has already in his career at least twice taken a team that, in my view, was the lesser team, and carried them to a playoff series win.
Yeah.
When they beat the Suns, I don't think they had the better team.
Right.
And last year, it was borderline. They eviscerated the Timberwolves, but at the very least it was 50-50.
Right.
And he carried them past it.
Yeah.
So what Luka does is he gives you an opportunity with a lesser team. But even with that on your side, I wouldn't necessarily believe in the Lakers unless I saw this defense. This defense has gotten me to believe that the Lakers have a shot at something special this year, but I have to see it continuing to stay on this level when other teams make adjustments to it.
There you go. There's the promo.
Yeah.
You're right there. You cut that up. There's the promo. Brian Windhorst says, put it on the ESPN LA scroll at the bottom of our YouTube.
I had to list my top 5 teams in the league.
Yeah. Listen, the top 5 is fairly easy, I think, right now in the NBA. It's some combination of Boston, Cleveland, OKC, the Lakers, and Denver.
That's what I had.
Yeah.
In that order?
Well, no, I don't know about that order, but
I had to do it today. I had the Lakers 5th. I had the Nuggets 4th. I had the Cavs 3rd, although that's
Cavs corner.
Tough because they've won 11 out of 12.
Yeah.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Lindsay's got her Cavs hat on.
I'm sure and she's got her finger on the button at all times.
Yes.
That's her wake up in the morning. That's what her alarm sounds
exactly.
like. And I had Oklahoma City 2. I have Boston 1 right now. Boston is extremely impressive. But the Lakers are 5th.
So you and I talked about this in the break. I've now had OKC 3 times in 3 weeks. So I've gotten a chance to see them up close, kind of see how the sauce is made in some ways. And I've never seen a team in any sport at this stage of their careers, the average age is 24 years old, be this disciplined about what their task is on a daily basis. And defensively, the way they swarm teams, it reminds me a lot of when you and I were with Wade, LeBron, and Bosh, right? Like, just they can overwhelm you, turn the ball over, speed you up, flying death machine or whatever they used to call it back then. It's just because they cause more turnovers than anybody else. Now, how sustainable is that in a playoff series when things become more half court? I don't know, but I am very impressed with them. I think that anybody in the West can beat anybody for the most part, at least at the top, right? Like, I'm fairly convinced Denver, the Lakers, OKC, they could all beat each other, I think, potentially. But if I had to pick a team to beat Boston, I think I would choose OKC.
So in what league have you ever heard, I don't have the data, but what league have you ever heard where the youngest team in the league won the title?
It doesn't happen very often.
I'm not talking about just basketball.
Right.
Football,
doesn't
baseball.
happen very often.
I mean, like Fab Five, right? Amazing. Yeah. They didn't win.
Did not get it done.
Okay. You don't, in the NBA, they say you win with men, not with boys. Not that I'm calling the Thunder boys.
Yeah.
They are the youngest team. And, Draymond the other day, Draymond said he could see the Warriors winning the championship. And there was a fair amount of eye rolling. But I just want to point out, like in the East, you can see Boston and Cleveland clear 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. New York clear 3. Milwaukee, Indiana clear 4 or 5. Like that's probably the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Maybe you have some sort of entrant that comes back in, but you can see it. In the West, you have the Thunder at 1. Now what? Now seriously, who is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? I don't know. Like it could. Yeah, Memphis is probably in the top 6.
Right.
I don't know. And if you're Draymond, you're looking at that going, okay, there's only one team ahead of us that I don't know where. I know where they're going to finish. I know the Warriors or the Thunder are going to be 1, and they're the youngest team in the league. And they lost in the second round last year. They were the number 1 seed last year and lost. So I can see why if you're Draymond Green, maybe you shouldn't have vocalized it, but I can see why he's saying, all right, give us a chance here. And frankly, I can see why LeBron and Luka was saying that the other day. Yeah. Luka's gone through the West. What seed were they last year, George?
They were the 5th seed.
Luka's seen a team go through. He's seen it.
Yeah.
So, look, I don't want to. I'm a big believer in the Thunder, like you. I think the Thunder will win the West, but I can understand why these teams back here are going. We'll see.
I can echo your sentiments in the sense that I've been around a lot of teams in the West, and you made the comment that teams don't fear the Thunder. I can echo those sentiments. I think that the teams in the West feel so good about their teams that they don't fear anybody. It's not just the Thunder, is what I would say. By the way, I just looked it up. Youngest teams to win a World Series and then a Super Bowl. The football one is interesting, but the baseball ones are hilarious. It's like the 1913 Philadelphia Athletics.
Oh, they were great.
The
that was an excellent team.
1914 Boston Braves.
Those guys were terrific.
The 69 Mets.
Oh, yeah, right.
The 12 Red Sox, which I believe had Babe Ruth.
Right.
And the 42 Cardinals. So in baseball, young teams don't win. Now, there's not many in football either, but it's interesting because if you listen to some of these teams, a number of them became dynasties. The 74 Steelers became a dynasty.
Okay.
The 81 Niners became a dynasty.
Right.
The 85 Bears did not. The 2013 Seahawks did not, although they were there a lot. And then the 86 Giants won 2 Super Bowls. The Eagles, DeAndre, are now in that group. They are the 6th youngest team to win a Super Bowl. So maybe there is your squad could end up being a dynasty.
All young teams, by the way, with all legendary coaches. I mean, you started mentioning Bill Walsh. Prior to that, Chuck Noll.
Right.
You could forget Connie
Mike
Mack,
Ditka.
all-time great.
Right, Connie Mack. There you go,
hey,
Windy.
Way to go, Windy.
I
love
was just
it.
guessing.
Windy,
It was
I know
Connie
you-
Mack, yeah.
Listen, I know you got to go, and we're up against the top of the hour, but real quick, most important question. Are we or are we not having lunch this week? Are we going down the block? Are we going to finally go to this place or what?
Do you know, first off, I tried to go there when it opened on Saturday morning 2 weeks ago, and there was a line down the block at 6:30 in the morning, 7 in the morning. So, I don't know. I may need you to pull strings.
Cappy, you know a guy?
Oh, listen, I know a guy everywhere. I got a guy at all places.
Okay, fair enough.
They recently had a big write-up. I think it was in like Eatery, LA Eatery magazine. Maybe that's why.
Oh,
Okay.
there you have it.
Windy, I'll be in touch. We got to make it happen.
That's what it was about, though. It was about the fact that it's still thriving.
It's coming back. People are in.
Yeah.
It's a renaissance.
Yeah.
Windy, check him out. The Hoop Collective podcast. Thank you for stopping by, buddy.
Thank you, guys.